Hello, my name is Brainerd Carey. Today I'm going to talk about getting into the curatorial portion of museums. In the episode before this, we talked about producing educational programs, which is another way for artists to get into museums through their educational program. To begin with, my name is Brainerd Carey, and what I am is an artist as well as a professional educator for artists. I've written 2 books for artists. This is called New Markets for Artists. It's about sharing on the internet primarily, and this is called Making It in the Art World. Both of them came out within the year, and they're books that build professional careers of fine artists. Today, the brief message that I want to talk to you about is how it is that you get into a major art museum or even a small art museum. And in the last episode, we talked about giving proposals to the educational portion of the museum. And the reason that's very important, and that means doing a workshop or a tour, something you actually get paid for. The reason it's important to apply to the educational portion of a museum, every museum is set up this way. There's an educational wing and there's a curatorial wing. The educational wing puts on programs for the public and workshops, and the curatorial wing puts on exhibitions for the public. In the last episode, we talked about getting into the educational wing through creating workshops. The reason that's important is because once you're in the museum, you know people there. You're meeting the other curators. You're in, okay? So it's an easy way to get in to do the educational proposal, as I was saying. Once you do that, or if you don't want to do that at all, the other way to do is go straight for curatorial, which means you look up the museum on the web. Again, a museum that's within an hour driving distance of you, more or less, perhaps something closer, something that you can get to. Read who are the curators there and what kind of exhibitions do they have. Be sure you know the museum well. Then make an appointment with a curator. I've done this many times for my own work, and it works very well. It may seem a lot to make an appointment, to ask a lot to be able to make an appointment with a curator, but in fact it's not. These are people that work at an institution, it's their job, and making an appointment with them shouldn't be too difficult. The way you do it is you pick a curator at the museum that isn't the top curator, the chief curator. Pick someone who's assistant to that curator, or who is another curator within the museum that's not nearly as busy, okay? And make an appointment with them in this way. Write them a direct letter. This is what I do. Sometimes I find their names through Facebook. I send them a direct inbox message. Or you can find their email on the museum website, or even call the museum and ask for their number or their email. Write to them, tell them you have a proposal that you'd like to discuss with them. Say something about yourself and say, I would like to meet you for a 10-minute meeting at the museum cafe. This is what I personally do, and I find it works very well, because everybody can meet for 10 or 15 minutes in their place of employment, right? Curator's working at the museum, you're asking for 10 or 15 minutes of his or her time in the cafe that's also in the museum. Shouldn't be too hard to get. Once you get that meeting, and that's maybe the hardest thing to do, or the easiest thing to do, depending on your personality, but it's, in terms of the logistics, it's not hard to actually get a meeting. Once you get that meeting, sit down with them. Don't bring a lot of images or a portfolio or things to show them. It's really not about a big show and tell. It's about who you are and what it is that you want to do. Curators are people like all of us. Most people in museums already have planned out all the shows that they can do. And you may be talking to a curator who can't even actually help you. But what the curator can do is point you to resources that can help you. So walk into that meeting with the following things. I would have 3 to 5 images of your work. The most, on an iPad or printed out on 8x10s. Something very simple, okay? And then have 3 ideas that you're going to present to them. They'll say, so, who are you? What do you do? Well, I'm an artist. These are the paintings that I do. For example, sculptures, drawings, whatever it is. And say, I want to produce a show of this work, and I have 3 ideas for a show. And then give them a small, a medium, and a large idea. Small idea is, I'd like to be in a group show of works that are about abstraction and its relation to the human body. Something like that. Whatever it is, just come up with some kind of idea. What's the smallest thing you'd like? To be in a group show of other artists. Of what kind? How do you want your work to be seen? And then after you say that idea, say to the curator, do you know of any venues where that would work? This is powerful, because instead of saying, can I exhibit here? You're saying to them, do you know of anywhere? So you're using all their connections that they already have, and they'll say, maybe here, maybe there. Okay, so write down those names. Now you have a second project, and it's a slightly larger show. I like to have 8 pieces, nine paintings in an exhibit, and this exhibit will be about essentially politics and have a certain theme to it, something that's clear. Tell them an idea that the works will represent when they're exhibited together. And then say, do you have any idea for venues where that could be exhibited? See what they say. They will say something, write it down. Third idea. Again, this is how I work. You could have 2 ideas. I go with 3, small, medium, and large, because it enables them to think in different levels. A large idea. You want to do a very large show, a solo show. It comprises your sculptures and your paintings, or something like that. And this show is specifically about something that's an idea, perhaps it's about the way politics and art come together, or the way street art has been used for politics, some kind of idea that the whole body of work represents. And along with that idea, there could also be educational shows. I'll give tours, I'll do workshops. Again, this is curatorial department you're talking to, but it's nice to know in the big picture that you have a lot of ideas. So after that, same thing, say to them, do you know of any venues where that would work? This will get you answers, okay? Ideally, after the meeting, what you want them to say is, send me more information and I'll follow up on that. And then you send them information about the different shows, and you write that information in paragraphs. So the first show that you talk to them about, or the second or the third, abbreviate it in a paragraph. It'll be 8 paintings, it'll be 12 sculptures, explain what it is about X, Y, and Z. This is the way to get into a museum, a fine art museum. The other thing that's important is if you want to exhibit in that museum, because she may say or he may say, oh, you should show here or this space or that space, and not mention the museum. If you really want to exhibit in the museum, find out where in that museum they have special projects. There's often rooms in museums that are used for special projects, things that come and go, things that are temporary. The main exhibition space in most museums is going to be booked years in advance. So look for small spaces, outdoor spaces, any kind of space within the museum that might not be used normally for an exhibition, or spaces that are called special project rooms where they've kind of repurposed the space to do something else. If you have any questions, feel free to ask and comment below, like it for the Facebook page, so you'll have more of these videos if you like them. Thank you for watching, and I wish you the best in your art career. Have a great day.